CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Friday, August 26, 2016. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to CATEX TV. 11 more Turkish policemen were killed when a suicide bomber detonated himself in a truck in front of a police station earlier today. The bomber apparently was associated with the Kurdish terror group PKK. An early estimate from the Italian Civil Protection Department suggests that the earthquake that struck on Umbria earlier this week could result in economic losses of around $11 billion. That earthquake was of magnitude 6.2. The epicenter was in the city of Norcia. It's killed at least 250 people. The area has been suffering hundreds of aftershocks, some of them quite strong in strength, which is hampering rescue operations. Italy's non-life insurance market is among the largest in the world. However, not too many people have earthquake insurance. Apparently, reinsurers are likely to face losses of only between 100 million and 200 million euros. This is according to Fitch Rating Services. Fitch said that the declaration of a state of emergency in the region by the Italian government meant that certain losses are going to be covered by an Italian state fund. A similar event of this size, an earthquake in 2009, led to insured losses of about 250 million euros. So this is really an area of underinsurance right there about 100 miles away from Rome. Berkshire Hathaway's reinsurance chief, Ajit Jain, has told staff at Gen Re to fix the cost problem at the subsidiary. This is according to a 5-page memo that was obtained by Bloomberg. The letter called on employees to tackle the issue intelligently to give the carrier, quote, a shot at making a real dent in the expense to premium ratio. He said, if we can't do this, we'll need to explore other ways to do it. One of the things he's apparently interested in is attacking the ratio of expenses to premium. He claims it's not where it should be. According to industry reports, Mr. Jain believes that the business is under-levered. This means as a result of incentive bonuses, which had been based on margins of profit in the business, Mr. Jain may believe that Gen Re underwriters have not been insuring business that could have produced a profit, but not as big a profit to prompt the triggering of their bonuses. Of course, Berkshire Hathaway is dependent upon insurance premium float, which they invest. So from Mr. Jain's perspective, if the expected loss ratio comes in at 99%, he's still going to be inclined to write the risk because he will make a small underwriting profit, yet he has the possibility of making quite an investment profit because of the investment of the float. It's going to take a bit of time to change the structure of Gen Re. And one thing about Ajit Jain is he does not wait for time. So this has been a cannon shot over the bow up at Gen Re in Stamford. The tropical wave that was moving through the western Atlantic and heading toward the coast of Florida today apparently is a little bit less organized, thankfully, than people had thought it would be. It has not been raised to a hurricane. It's still called 99L. It has not been given a name because it's not even a tropical storm. It's moving slowly to the west-northwest at about 10 miles per hour. It's located between the Bahamas and Cuba right now. It's expected still to be a rain-making event. It will cross Florida, and it might get better organized when it emerges on the west coast of Florida in the Gulf, when it gets over the warm waters there. So the National Hurricane Service is warning people in the Gulf of Mexico to pay very close attention to this. And as we mentioned, a significant rainmaker event or a rainmaker event of any size right now in Louisiana would be a very bad thing. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Gaston, which had been a hurricane but was then lowered, looks like it might be facing the possibility of organizing into a hurricane again. The storm is now about 1,100 miles east-southeast of Bermuda and moving northwest at about 17 miles per hour. It's not yet known what that storm is going to do, but if you look at the map, it is out over open water, open warm water, and if it does gain strength and does not turn, it's headed right to the American East Coast. The Deputy Interior Minister of Bolivia, Rodolfo Ilanes, has been killed after being kidnapped by protesting minors. The 56-year-old had gone to speak to protesters in the city of Panduro, about 100 miles from La Paz, but he was intercepted and kidnapped by miners. Protesters have been demanding more mining concessions with less stringent environmental rules and the right to work for private companies as well as greater union representation. There's a rumor floating around London that London Stock Exchange listed Lloyd's insurer Lancashire might be up for sale and may be being acquired by the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, which is active in other insurance. The deal is only speculation at the moment. The vice chairman of South Korea's Lotte Group, Lee In-won, has been found dead only hours before he was to be questioned by police in a corruption probe. Apparently it was a suicide. He had been due to be questioned today in an inquiry into a possible slush fund and financial irregularities at the large conglomerate. He was one of the most senior executives in the firm. The Lotte Group is involved in a variety of sectors, including hotels, chemicals, food, and retails. It's Korea's fifth largest conglomerate. Saudi Arabia apparently is going to push ahead with the sale of at least $10 billion in bonds. This is even if the Federal Reserve raises interest rates next month. The kingdom is planning on pushing ahead to sell its debt securities in early October to plug a budget deficit estimated at about $80 billion this year. This is a signal as to how desperate the Saudis may be because of the cuts in the price of oil, that they're prepared to go ahead and market the bonds even if the cost to them is going to rise if the Federal Reserve increases the interest rate. The possible sale comes as Kuwait plans to issue as much as 10 billion bonds on its own. Bahrain and Kuwait are also considering deals after Qatar raised a record $9 billion in bonds in May and Abu Dhabi $5 billion in April. Very interesting that these oil-producing countries are now issuing debt instruments. And Richard Branson, the British entrepreneur, is happy to be alive after a harrowing bike crash in the British Virgin Islands this week. He was launched off his bike when he was heading downhill and he hit a speed bump, throwing him into the air. He said, "I really thought I was going to die. Fortunately, I was wearing a helmet that saved my life." He suffered a cracked cheek and some torn ligaments. He promptly posted photos of his bruised and bloody face on social media. Mr. Branson, of course, has a taste for adventure as well as a very big success in business. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a hot air balloon in 1987, and he also set the record for the fastest crossing of the English Channel in an amphibious vehicle in 2004. The pictures do show him pretty beaten up, actually, but fortunately he's fine. That's the news for today. Monday is a bank holiday in the United Kingdom. We will be broadcasting, and we will see you then. Thank you for watching.